was 6 a.m. when I was driving on the road in Yellowstone. It was all snowy on the ground. I was just sipping some hot coffee. I was just driving, and I was alone on the road. I didn't see any other cars, and just out of nowhere, I saw this silverish thing just cross the road right in front of me with a big tail. And I immediately braked, and the car just slid, kind of, the ABS kicked in, and Hey guys, Tin Manly here. Long time no see. I haven't sent out an email newsletter since June, so I thought I would just be here in the video face to face to let you know how I'm doing. So things have been pretty crazy last few months. In July, I got a phone call from my father in Hong Kong that my mom had some accident. So I immediately flew back to Hong Kong to see her. She had some surgery on her hand. She had some bone fractures, but she's getting a lot better now. So thank God. Some of you also know that I bought a Nikon DA50, and I've never even tried it all this time because I was just resting my back, just really carefully, not trying to hurt it again. So I went to Yellowstone for 8 days. I'm going to let you know how the trip goes in this trip report, and I'm trying to be provide you as much value as possible. So my first tip to you about traveling is to avoid the tourist. And that's the reason why I go in winter rather than in the summertime to Yellowstone. About 2 years ago, in the Memorial Day weekend, I was with a friend. I was just driving back to the hotel after a long day of photo shoot. We had some really lucky break. We got a mother bear and 2 cubs crossing the road, and out of all the places they can choose, they chose to cross right in front of our car. So I got some pretty close-up pictures. So I'm pretty happy. So we were driving after this long day, very happy. So suddenly my friend said, "Stop!" And I said, "What happened?" And I just braked, and then I looked at her, and she said, "I saw something. Why don't you just make a U-turn?" And since I'm pretty famous for me being blind, I'm so bad at animal sightings. So I of course I trust my friend, and so I make a U-turn, and she pointed at a rock, which is probably near Lamar Valley, near Tower Junction, because we just left Tower Junction where we saw the black bear. So I drove, make a U-turn, drove slowly back to the rock, and I was about 75 feet or 80 feet away from that rock, and we both got out of the car, and I took out my 600mm and 1.4 lens, and I looked into my viewfinder to see what is going on, and this is what I saw. So my friend actually saw some newly born red fox pups, and I have been photographing fox for quite a few years now. So once I saw the body color and the color of the eyes, like I realized that when the eyes are blue and when the color is kind of darker, that means they are just newborn. So it was a great find because it's a very rare moment that I can see that. So I just kneeled down. I didn't even bring a tripod, and I just kneeled down. I parked my car on one side and then kneeled down and just watched them. Took a few pictures, and I saw the mother nursing the babies. It was a very sweet moment, right? So I thought, okay, this is gonna be great because I can just get them more to be more comfortable, and then maybe I can really get just a little bit closer and then get some really good shots, right? So I was just kneeling down there and just waiting like this, and then there's a car who drove by, and then he saw my lens, and then the car immediately make a U-turn. They just brake and make a U-turn, and then just door open, and then this whole family just ran right in front of me, all the way towards the rock. And this family, I think it's the parents with a kid, and then they just ran all the way in, and it's like getting closer and closer and closer, all the way to the rock. And guess what they did? They just pick up their cell phone and then stick their cell phone into the den. I was completely shocked. And then they were just like laughing and yelling and all. And because of that, that got more attention. And then more cars stopped. And just within a few minutes, there were probably 30 people all rushing towards the den in front of me. And most of them are families too. And then they were just loud, they were yelling and all. And I saw that immediately. The mother fox got into the den with the pups, right? Of course, they ruined the day. But then they kept on staying there. And then they probably all of them trying to use their cell phone to take selfies, right, with the den behind them and all these things. And some of them even put the phones, try to be as close to the den as possible. And then something unexpected happened. I saw that the mother fox suddenly came out. And I would never forget that moment. So she started to bark at those people. I don't know if you guys heard about the song about the famous fox song, right? So the fox actually bark. They don't howl, or they don't do any other stuff. So the mother fox was barking at the people, and no, those people is like they don't even care. They were just laughing loud and making fun, taking selfies with each other or taking pictures of each other. And the mother fox did one thing that I was completely unexpected. She started to walk away from those people and stand in the middle of the row and then kept barking at them. And I immediately knew what she was doing. She was trying to get the attention of those people away from her babies. And at that time, it was about 5 p.m., even in the evening in Yellowstone. All the people were tired. All the people were rushing, driving in high speed, rushing back to their hotels. And it's getting darker and darker too. And the mother fox was walking among all these cars driving by and all. I was so worried about her. I almost could visualize that she would be knocked, like drove over by any one of those cars. So I walked towards those people and I started yelling at them and said, "Hey guys, you guys are too close to the fox. You should back up. Look at the mother. The mother fox was already out there, and then the babies are not coming out. You guys are harassing them." And most of them acted as if they didn't listen to me. But then there's one guy who looked completely annoyed by me. And then he walked closer to me. And then I remember exactly what he did to me. He said, I was that far away from the fox, so I was not right in front of them. And I said, like, he showed me like just a few inches away. And I almost wanted to punch him, but I didn't. And anyways, more and more cars started to come, and I realized that with my big lens and pointing at that direction, it was just gonna get more attention from people. So I just put down my camera, walked back to the car with my friend, and then I just left because I really couldn't watch that anymore. And that's what I feel about the tours in Yellowstone. I really pondered about giving up photography after that encounter because it was just so sad. And I feel like I was the one responsible for these fox families to get harassed by those people. So everything was ready on that Saturday when I drove to LAX, and I had a lot of stuff. So I was pretty late because of the traffic in Los Angeles. So I was kind of rushing. So when I got there, I thought, okay, maybe I should just get a cart. I pull it out, and then I try to bring my luggage from onto the cart, right? So just when I was doing this, when I moved like this, I heard a cracking sound in my back. And then it's almost like these two bones just got detached and then dislocated. And I said, oh crap, this is gonna be bad. It almost felt like you touched the side of the stove by accident, and then and you were so afraid to touch it again. So I didn't even dare to move for a few minutes and wonder whether I should still go to the trip. But after a few minutes, I got a little bit better, so I just walked slowly. But I had a bad feeling about this trip that my back is gonna bother me a lot. So now here's some tips for packing for this kind of trips when you have to fly, and sometimes you have to fly in small plane. So what I do is there's just always one key thing in flying for photographers, for wildlife photographers in particular, which is to be stealth. So first of all, everything should be black so that it looks smaller and thinner. Like you like to wear black clothes to look thinner, right? But now I lost 30 pounds, so I don't mind wearing lighter colors. But anyways, so the key thing really is the Gura gear backpack is what I use all the time. As from this picture, you can see that it just looked like a typical backpack, but then within it you can carry a 600 millimeter. So from the picture here, you can see that I have the 600 on one side, and also the new Nikon D850 with the 200 to 500 lens on the other side, and I can still fit in a few extra external hard drive and another 1DX Mark II body and a bunch of CF card and all perfectly. When I was not inside the plane, I don't carry it on my back because of my back pain, right? So what I do is I put it on a small Samsung collapsible card, showing it in here, which as you can see from the picture is pretty tiny. So what I do is actually I can when I'm in the plane, I can actually put this collapsible cart inside the Gura backpack, and it can still fit onto the overhead compartment. Because one key thing right here is that when you are lining up at the gate to board the plane, the flight attendants or the staff there is always looking for things that have wheels. You use your Samsonite cart to carry you through different terminal and walking and whatever you do. But when you get to the gate, collapse the cart and put it into the backpack, and then carry it on your back and then just walk up to the airplane as if this is a backpack. And I also always use a think tank messenger bag, which is called Urban Disguise. For some reason too, even though this messenger bag is huge, but when people see that, they always think that it is just a messenger bag with a computer laptop in it. And for the longest time, I have this problem though, which is when you put your Gura gear backpack onto the Samsonite cart, and then when you try to carry it over, all these straps in the backpack started to dangle on the ground, and then when you pull it, sometimes it got caught in the wheels, and then the cart may flip and all these things. So it's very frustrating. And I have been talking to my buddy Carl about this, because I mean, this is an art form about travel for wildlife photographer. So we always try to exchange our notes about how to do it. And I said, all these dangling straps, what do you do with it, Carl? And he said, Tin Man, I figured out a way. All you need is just to buy those big straps, so that you just wrap around the back, and then and all these straps will be tidied up, and then you didn't even need to worry about it dangle on the ground anymore. And I kept looking to like Office Depot and all, and I just couldn't find a good model of it, any good thing to fit into that. And until one day I realized that I probably misunderstood what Carl was saying, because I was stupid. I make a big mistake of not reading the manual of this backpack. And guess what? So what you can do is you could actually, I mean, this is a big discovery for me at least, so don't laugh. You can actually put all these straps inside the bag and then zip it up. So there's this option. So I didn't realize it at all. And so this is a picture showing you that these straps can be all pulled together into the bag, and then you can zip it up, and there will be no longer any dangling straps when you carry them. So and then I also always carry a what is it called? IKEA bag. So those you can buy it in Amazon or from the IKEA store. Those bags are super durable. So I always put one of those bags into my backpack, because sometimes you just couldn't tell when you go on a flight. The flight attendants or the staff might just be in a bad mood, or the flight was really full, or the overhead compartment was just too small or whatever, and they ask you to check your bag, and you just couldn't argue with them. And then this is the last resort. So they can check your bag, But never ever leave your lenses and cameras into the hand of strangers, because you never know if they will throw it by accident or something, right? So what I do is, if they really force me to check my bag, I will just pull up all my camera and lenses into the IKEA bag, and then I just carry it on my shoulder as if it's a carry-on, and then let them check in my empty backpack. Who cares? Alright, so now we talk about the gear. So what camera and what lens, what focal length of lens is the best for Yellowstone, right? So from my experience, it's very simple. The longer the better. There's some rules in Yellowstone. The rangers follow the rules. For example, certain wildlife, you have to stay 75 feet away. So I carry two lenses, the new camera, the Nikon DA50 and the 200 to 500, which is this. So zooming in and out for Nikon is completely opposite in Canon. So every time when I'm in the middle of the action and then the animal will come closer, I turn in the wrong way and then it got like all messed up. So so I don't know why they keep on doing these things in opposite way. But and then also the dial also is in very different locations. So I mean, after 10 years or more of using a Canon camera, it just takes some time to get used to it. But anyway, so this is nice little, this is my Canon right here, which is the, oh god, it couldn't even fit into the whole view. So this is the Canon 600mm with the so with the 1.4 converter, converter connected, and also this is the 1DX Mark II. So how I do my photography? Oh, I just heard a crack again. God. So this is the 600. I mean, it's about what, 15 pounds? I don't know, but for a few seconds of hand holding it to do it is still doable, and it has an effective focal length of 840mm, so pretty good. And then you asked me, should I bring a tripod, right? So of course, it's good to have a tripod, but and don't get me wrong, I have been a fan of tripod for many years. I have tried many models. I have tried 3 Gisso tripods and 1 Really Right Stuff. I actually have 2 Really Right Stuff and a bunch of other tripods, carbon fiber and all these things. But to be honest, in this whole trip for 8 days in Yellowstone, I have never even taken the tripod out. So all the pictures I got were not from the tripod, all handheld. So let me just imagine it. If you see an animal, the animal is not going to wait for you to set up your tripod. And by the time you set up your tripod, they have already gone. So so you want to save time, you just take some shots. And unless you find some carcass, like if some wolves or whatever killed an elk, and then you knew that the animals will come back to eat at the carcass, then you can set up your tripod. Indeed, I look back into all my popular photos or photos that I myself love or people love. None of these photos were taken using a tripod unless I am wading in water. To find wildlife in Yellowstone, I have a few strategies. The first thing is before your trip, you always go into different forums. For example, there is a Yellowstone net called YNet. You just Google YNet Yellowstone and you can see people's posting. There's always some delay. First of all, people wouldn't want to instantly post the location to you anyways. And then the second tip is you can go into a photography workshop. There are a lot of local photographers who spend months or the whole year in Yellowstone, and they know a lot of information. So you can actually pay them a private tour guide, or you join some of those photography workshops. So so that's gonna cost you a lot of money. You can always learn a few good things from those photographers about the behaviors and stuff too. So that's recommended. The third one is you need to make some trusted friends. So next time you go to Yellowstone, when the animals are not around and then you see some photographers who are relaxing and they are not in the middle of the action, because this is the important manner, is never go to a photographer when he or she is looking through the viewfinder, right? Or have to make sure that you are not bothering them. But just chat with them and just tell them who you are, introduce yourself, and ask them about the news and all. I always get a lot of information, because one thing in common is that we are animal lovers. So when we are in Yellowstone, we talk about how did you see any wolf, any fox and all. If they have seen them, they will show you the videos or the pictures and then let you know some information. Like when I got there this time, my friend Tran said that, you just missed it for 4 days. You should have been there on Wednesday, because there were a pack of wolves eating a carcass very close to the ranger station that you can get eye-level close-up shots, and it's once a lifetime, but you just miss it. So this happens a lot, and it doesn't really matter, because you get lucky sometimes, you get unlucky sometimes, and this is really the story of all these friendships remain. So you keep talking to them, and eventually you get some more updated information. So just keep helping your friends so that they can help you too. So that's my point on the fourth tip is time of the day. My first few trips to Yellowstone, I was not a photographer at that time, and what I did was we woke up at 8 a.m. We go to the hotel to eat breakfast, which is a no-no for wildlife photographers. We never eat breakfast at the hotel. We never eat lunch at the hotel. We never eat dinner at the hotel. But anyways, so I eat dinner with my friends, and then we drive out in the daytime, and then we come back. And of course, we never saw the animals, because most of the animals are more active at dawn and dusk. November that I just went, sunrise was at about 6:45 a.m. and sunset was at 4:30 p.m. So those are the time when animals are more active. So you gotta make sure that you are in the park, driving around in those times, because that's the highest chance you can see animals. And what I mean is that you have to leave before dawn to go into the park, because from Gardner to inside the Yellowstone or Lamar Valley takes more than an hour to drive. So the last tips on in terms of finding wildlife is one word: improvise. So you never know what wildlife will appear at where and when in Yellowstone, or in any other places too, but in particular in Yellowstone. So I have been winter for several times, and I've heard about this bobcat that would show up in Madison River so many times. And I have spent countless times, hours and hours and hours, and never saw one. 1 year, finally, got lucky, but that's another story there. So I finally got some good pictures of the famous bobcat. So you just have to adapt to your schedule. And we spent about 4 days there, following the bobcat every single day, and then we got some unique pictures. And the second time, I was planning to go to both Grand Teton and Yellowstone, but the day before I went for this trip, one of my good friends told me that, hey, there is a great gray owl near Grand Teton. You should check it out. And I thought, there's one owl in the whole place, how do I even find it? And he said, no, it's pretty easy. It seems like the owl was near the parking lot, one of the parking lots, every single day. And I didn't believe him at first, but he gave me some really good direction, which I'm super thankful. And lo and behold, I drove there in the morning, and I parked my car, and the owl was right there for the whole day, for several days. So I spent 4 days photographing the great gray owls, and I didn't get a lot of wonderful pictures that I really like, but I did enjoy my sighting, because this is just a majestic animal that I've dreamed to photograph for a long time. So what I want to say is you really have to make a lot of friends, have a network, and then talk to them before the trip or during the trip, and gather information and adjust your schedule as best as you can. So one day I was riding with my friends Henrik and Brian. We were driving on the Lamar Valley as usual, and suddenly we saw, Henrik actually saw it black spot in the distance, and then we stopped the car, and it's black. That means it may be a black wolf, right? So we saw this black wolf near a lake. So we instantly stopped the car. Henrik suggested we walk up a hill and to look over so that's when the time when the back pain really hits me. So even though I had taken to a leave that morning, but just didn't help. So every step it's like a knife pinching into my hip. It's always a trade-off between your physical pain and your emotional pain, because what if they did see a wolf and then the wolf came close to them and they get a head-on shot of a black wolf with golden eyes, and instead of me avoiding physical pain and waited for them inside the car, right? Trying to catch up with Henrik to look for the wolf. So we were walking on some crusty snow. It was really painful, and so we got to the top of the hill, and then we looked around, and it turned out that it was really just a coyote. And then it was walking further and further away, so we couldn't get any pictures. So we decided to. So Henrik was having his binocular and then just look around to see if there's anything else, and nothing. So we decided to walk back, which was almost I don't know, almost a mile that we walked. And so Henrik suddenly walked to me, and then he looked at me and said, "Can you hold my binocular for me?" I said, "Oh, that's weird." Like, okay, and then I took the binocular from him, and then he said, "Give me this." And then he just put his hand out and then grabbed my 600mm, and holding his own 600mm and my 600mm, he just walked away. And then he looked back at me and said, "I saw the pain every step in you, so I'm carrying this for you." So in a stretch of 3 days, and during the trip, I didn't see anything at all, and I got really frustrated. Just kept driving back and forth from 6 a.m. to 5 p.m. Just absolutely nothing. So this particular day, I was driving near Tower Junction, and on the bridge, I saw a raven. That is a very common species. Usually, I wouldn't pay attention, but after the three-eyed raven story that some of you might know, so when I saw the raven, I said, I gotta take a picture of it. And then I saw some very special behavior. So this raven suddenly just kind of crouched down, and then the feather under her neck, under his, I don't know his or her, but his neck suddenly ruffed, and then he breathed out this hot air as if like trying to talk to me, and I was like, what is that behavior? And then he kept doing this for like 3-4 times, and then I grabbed my camera, I grabbed my Nikon this time, and then I walked slowly to the raven. And surprisingly, the raven, I mean, they are super smart, and then they are not afraid of humans. So he didn't fly away. So I saw that the background was all snowy and all, but there is a patch of background that has a darker color. And I always look for those because the raven is dark, and I always like black in black for some reason. So if I saw a dark background, I know that they will make a nice black and white picture. So I got into a spot and then set up my my Nikon camera and lens and all full frame and perfect. And then it still was doing this breathing thing. So I focused on his eye, and then there was just this moment when the background was perfect, and he looked at me, and then his eye had that blue eyelid just covering, so it looks really, really mysterious. And then he just looked right into my direction and breathed out all this hot air right in front of me. And I was so excited because that's a really good shot with the feather reflecting the light, almost looked like a silver armor, and then eye contact looking right there with the eyelid closed, mysterious blue, and the air coming out. Right? So I think, okay, I nailed it. After no wolf for 3 days, no any animals for 3 days, this is the shot for the trip. And then I click on it, and nothing happened. The camera didn't click. I pressed all the way down into the shutter. It doesn't click at all. Just nothing. And I was very frustrated, and then he finished the briefing, right? And then I just wait for another 5 minutes, and then I take one picture, and it was still struggling to focus. And then I took a picture, and I said, that's very strange, right? I just bought the brand new 128 gigabyte SD card Type 2, which is not as fast as the QXD card, but it's still pretty fast. And just couldn't focus and all, and I said, oh God, this is very strange, right? So I tried to focus a few times and it didn't, and then I changed it to manual focus this time, right? If autofocus is hunting, maybe it's just because the raven is black and the background is black, it couldn't find any contrast, right? So I changed to manual focus right onto the eye, and then I tried to click on it. And it didn't, nothing happened. The camera is not responding, and then I saw a green light always lit up on the camera. And at that time I almost want to throw the camera away under the bridge and just switch back. But turned out that it's not because of the camera, it's because of my stupidity. And I admit and I confess that I may be the most stupid guy ever to use to enter the world of Nikon. But anyways, so I threw the camera back into my car and grabbed my Canon and focus on the raven, right? And waiting for him to do this rough the feather and breathe again, like perfect. I took a few test shots before he does that. He did that, right? And then the focus was perfect. So I said, okay, at least I can get the Canon to work, right? And once I set up everything, the raven never breathed out like that again. He just kind of looked around and all. It's just a mediocre pictures. And after I waited for 3-4 minutes, he just flew away, and that's it. So no picture. I mean, I did get one picture using manual focus in the Nikon camera, and it's not like critically sharp, but it's acceptable. And I turned it into a black and white, which I still like, but it would be so much better if I can get the raven looking at me right there with the eyes turned blue with the eyelid, and then breathing right there with the background, but with all the feather reflecting light and all. But so I was so frustrated. I immediately went to a spot where I have signals, and then I texted my friend Eric, who has a Nikon D850. I said, what the heck is going on? How come we couldn't finish? I couldn't focus. And he asked me a few questions about my settings and all, and I said, yeah, I did all the settings right. Indeed, this is the first time ever in my life that I actually read the freaking manual before that. And I set up all the continuous focus, the single point or surrounding point or whatever. Should be correct, right? And then he said, how about the SD card? And I said, yeah, I did purchase the SD card Type 2, may not be as fast as the QXD, and Eric said, well, I use those SD card too, shouldn't have any problems, and all. I said, no, we couldn't focus and all, and so I concluded that maybe I had a lemon. It's just bad luck, right? So anyways, I kept trying the next few days. I read all the manuals, read all the stuff, YouTube at the hotel about the tutorials and all, and make sure everything works. Still didn't work. And so when I went back home after the trip, and I tried to put the card back into my computer, like upload the files, and when I pull the card out of my camera, then there's this shocking thing that happened. What I saw was not the card that I bought. What the heck is going on, right? I mean, I bought the Extreme Pro, the SanDisk Extreme Pro Type 2 SD card. And what I pull out is this card right here. What the heck is this card? You see that? No. It's like an SD card that was made 10 years ago. I didn't even know why did it end up in my camera. So then everything was understood, everything was solved. So just 2 days before my trip, one of my colleagues asked me to take a few pictures of her for the company profile and all. And I thought, okay, sure, because I have never used my camera, it's good to at least get familiar with the camera before my trip, right? So because of that, I thought, okay, instead of using my quick the fast SD card, I can just put an old one just to take a few pictures for her, and then pull the card out, wait until I come back from the trip to edit the photo to send it to her, right? And everything was planned. But then because of probably she was working long hours and I was working long hours and all, so by the time I got back and looked for her at 4 p.m. that day, I couldn't find her. Maybe she was tied up in a meeting or something. So anyways, so we didn't meet up and I didn't take any of the pictures of her. And the card was still in the camera. And you know, for somebody who has a full-time job, where you rush back home and then you pack for hours and then you rush to the airport, who would have time to check the camera and remember all those things? So I didn't remember anything at all. And so this super slow SD card was, it was always in my camera, and that's why every time I took a test shot of the Nikon, it took probably minutes to read one file of the 45 megabyte into the card. And so that's why the AF was not working, the shutter was not working until everything was written into that. So it was almost a miracle that I still got some pictures from the Nikon. But all I can tell you is, so I want to show you several pictures of the comparison of Canon versus Nikon with just the difference in the pixel count. So on one of these pictures, you can see that at 100% zoom of the file, the smaller one is the Canon file, the bigger one is the Nikon file. So what you can see is how many more pixels the Nikon provides with even a shorter focal length. Because Nikon has what, 8,000 by 6,000 pixels and Canon has 5,000. So on the length, there is already 3,000 pixels more. And I find that it is the quality is just excellent in terms of image quality at 100% zoom. But with that pixels, it is actually really useful for Yellowstone. But anyways, I just want to show you the Raven picture and what I got, and so much for part 1 now. And for the next section, I will do some more in-depth review of the Nikon DA50, and also I want to tell you how bison actually changed my life, and I'll review to you whether I really see a wolf or not, and then I'll also share with you many more tips. Please go ahead and leave what you think about this part below, and thank you very much for your time.